In this video, we're going to be looking at Tropical Depression 18, which is expected to become Hurricane Rafael and head into the Gulf of Mexico. Looking at satellite imagery, you can see we have Tropical Depression 18, which just formed this morning. And this system has been going on for a while. As you can see, we do have some convection up there just south of Cuba and Jamaica. This is expected to form into our next named tropical storm, Rafael, within the next 48 hours, and this is expected to become a hurricane. Looking at the current forecast cone, we could see this is expected to become a tropical storm within the next 24 to 48 hours. By 1 p.m. Tuesday, we might have a hurricane by tomorrow afternoon. We already have hurricane warnings out here for these islands just northwest of Jamaica, and we have hurricane watches out for the western portions of Cuba. As you can see, it's expected to persist as a hurricane even after Cuba in the Gulf of Mexico. And as you can see, this cone is quite large in the Gulf, as we're not really sure right now of what state this is going to impact most, but as of right now, it's expected to go into pretty much the middle of the Gulf of Mexico and really could impact any areas along the United States coastline. Now, this is expected to weaken in the Gulf of Mexico. This is because of some shear that's going to be developing over the next few days of this week from the ongoing current severe weather that's occurring in Texas and Oklahoma today. And that's going to be lingering over the northern Gulf of Mexico, and that's going to limit any further development of this hurricane, which is pretty fortunate for the Gulf of Mexico, as they've already seen multiple storms this season. Looking at current model track guidance, these are your spaghetti models, and as you can see, they're definitely not agreeing much right now. We have a lot that head into this general direction, but as you can see, once it gets into the middle of the Gulf of Mexico, it's really not sure what it's going to do right now. You can see some that are heading back to southwest. There's a couple of these models that are kind of glitching out. As you can see, it does this weird, very unrealistic track that heads back into Mexico. But as you can see, this is our current cone right now. So it really could be heading anywhere along the Florida coast, the Mississippi, Alabama coast, Louisiana coast, even portions of the eastern Texas coastline could potentially see impacts from the storm depending on where it goes. Those GFS ensembles, and you could see that main black line is the current agreement line for the GFS ensembles, and that has it heading into Mississippi, Louisiana. But as you can see, ensembles also include a lot of different other tracks, so that's why that cone is so large right now. Again, we're not totally sure on any impacts or exactly where this is going to impact right now. But this is definitely going to be our next hurricane of this season. And GAPS ensembles do have this a little more east of the GFS models. As you can see, that main black line is about 100 miles to the east, 100 to 200 miles to the east, as that was originally over here. So generally, this area is the main concern right now. But this again could shift eastward or westward. And then looking at model intensity guidance here, you can see we have a lot of these already in tropical storm strength. Here's your winds on the side right here. So those are knots. And right now, this is about 40 knots of sustained winds. So it's pretty much in tropical storm strength, but it also has other factors to become a tropical storm, like the convection organization. If the convection is kind of scattered, it's typically a tropical depression at this point, which it is. But if the convection gets a lot more organized and the eye wall starts to develop, that becomes pretty much your tropical storm. We have a lot that go into category 1 hurricane, a few that stay down here in tropical storm, but a lot of these do get up here to category 1 strength. And we also have a couple that reach category 2 strength or high-end Cat 1 before weakening down right before landfall. Of where this is going to bring impacts to, we have no clue right now, but it'll be somewhere along the Gulf of Mexico later this week. Now, looking at the current GFS model, this GFS model has, last night I was looking at the GFS model, and this had this storm a lot more eastward, pretty much paralleling the western coastline of Florida. But today we could take a look here, and this becomes a hurricane pretty quickly right near Jamaica tomorrow afternoon. And this becomes a pretty strong hurricane actually by Wednesday morning. This brings some pretty decent impacts to western Cuba. This heads into the Gulf of Mexico, still a strong Category 1 hurricane. And as you can see, it starts hitting that shear around Friday afternoon. As you can see, it starts to weaken. That once that number gets higher, that storm starts to weaken. And then this brings some light tropical storm impacts to that area of Mississippi, Louisiana. So GFS model is pretty much focusing in on this area of Mississippi, Louisiana, Alabama coastlines as a weak storm by the time it reaches there, because again of that shear. These storms do not like shear. The Euro model, however, has a different opinion. This model has it as a and the Euro model typically underdoes the strength of tropical cyclones. As you can see, heads into Cuba as probably a strong tropical storm or a hurricane, and then it starts heading westward and just kind of does a little weird track. So Euro model is really not sure what it's going to do as well. The CMC model has us a lot more eastward and heads into the Panhandle of Florida again as a weak storm. Nothing to really be concerned about. And then the Icon model again has a very weird solution with it heading westward. For some reason, it might be picking up a trough or something. But as you can see, some of these models have no clue what it's going to do. And some models have it heading into somewhere along the Gulf of Mexico. Right now, I'm pretty focused on Louisiana, Mississippi. But I do expect this to shift over the next few days, as it typically does. So we're not going to have a clear answer to what the storm is going to do over the next few days. We do have that shear that's going to affect the storm before landfall. And the waters are also getting cooler from a lot of these cold fronts. As you can see, still seeing some warm temperatures of 27 to 28 Celsius, but this Gulf of Mexico is definitely getting cooler by the day, and this coastline is definitely getting a lot cooler, as you're seeing 25 Celsius for a lot of, as you get closer to those beaches. This water is definitely getting a lot cooler. So this storm is very unlikely to go under rapid intensification like we've seen other hurricanes do in the Gulf of Mexico. That typically happens in September, October, August. But once we reach November, these fall cold fronts start to come in and start to cool down the Gulf and start to shut down the tropical Atlantic. But as you can see, still very warm waters, and this is probably going to bring some big impacts to western Cuba, Jamaica, because we're still seeing some pretty prime tropical conditions down here in the Caribbean, but not so much in the Gulf of Mexico. If you did enjoy the video, be sure to subscribe to the channel if you are new and turn on post notifications. You won't miss a single upload live stream on the channel, and like the video as well. It's the best way to support me. But as always, I'll see you in the next one. Stay safe.